Welcome to our deep dive session. Today we're unpacking a discussion where global economic currents are shifting and the West is really freaking out.
Oh, absolutely. The talk centers on how China is redefining its role and, reshaping the global economic order, right?
Exactly. It's like China is doing a strategic economic transformation. They successfully deleveraged their overheating real estate market and redirected capital into high tech manufacturing.
Yeah, that's wild. And you're saying this move was partly to uh, shield itself from external pressures like those US tariffs?
Right? It's like they had to quickly pivot and build resilience. They looked at US tariffs as an external shock and thought, let's strengthen our domestic capacities.
I love that analogy. It's almost like a chess game, repositioning your pieces to safeguard your king.
Oh, it's definitely chess with global stakes. And then there's this idea of globalization 2.0, which hints at a complete reworking of global order into a
Right,
multipolar
indeed.
landscape.
So, are we talking about a situation where the old hegemonic powers are, well, no longer calling all the shots?
Yup, exactly. It's not just about one hegemon replacing another, it's more like a networked future that disperses influence across multiple centers.
Yeah, wow. And it's really interesting how this shift isn't restricted to just one region. Asia, East, Southeast Asia, even Australia and Japan are adapting to these changes.
Totally. It's like a domino effect. When you see Asia realigning its policies and economic strategies, it's clear that the end of undisputed American primacy is stirring up a lot of dynamic repositioning.
Absolutely. Now, I've got to ask. Some folks say that these moves, like non-dollar based trade initiatives and the Belt and Road, are just another way for China to gain control. Do you buy that view?
Well, hold on, it's not that simple. I mean, yeah, initiatives like the Belt and Road are strategic, but they're also about building economic infrastructure and fostering connectivity. It's like a blend of self interest and global cooperation.
Right? I see that. But don't you think this dual approach creates inherent tension? There's an element of power projection in there that might unsettle established orders.
For sure, it's not without friction. I'd say it's like inviting someone in for dinner while always keeping an eye on the exit.
Yeah, exactly. And while some argue this flexibility is smart, others contend it's risky. They worry that such a dynamic might lead to unstable global networks.
Yes, it's a bit like revving up an engine at the red light. You could hit acceleration when it's time, but it might also lead to a crash if not managed properly.
Interesting point. So, is it fair to say that the era of predictable centralized power is giving way to adaptability and multiplicity?
Precisely. It's not just one power dominating. Instead, we're looking at interlinked systems where influence is distributed, and each actor, be it a nation or an economic bloc, is finding its own niche.
Yep, that's a neat way to put it. Let's shift back to China for a minute. Aside from real estate and high tech manufacturing, what else is driving their transformation?
Oh, there's a lot going on. They're pushing for trade that's not so dollar centric. There's a real deliberate attempt to design a financial system that's less reliant on the Western model, which is part of why many in the West are, freaking out.
No doubt. Yeah, that kind of diversification sends a clear signal about who's calling the shots in the future of trade.
Exactly. It's like they're saying, hey, we're not going to be left out of the rulemaking process. And with that, it's clear there's a deliberate effort to craft a multipolar world instead of just waiting for power transitions.
Indeed. Now, I'd love to probe a bit. Do you think that these strategies are mutually beneficial? Or is there a chance that in creating multiple centers of power, we could invite more conflict?
That's a fair challenge. I mean, it's almost like a double edged sword. On one side, it offers resilience by dispersing risk. But on the flip side, if these powers don't negotiate their differences carefully, you could end up with overlapping interests
I get that.
leading to friction.
So it's a balancing act then, balancing national interests with the needs of a global network.
Absolutely. And what's fascinating is that Asian countries, like Australia and Japan, are already navigating these waters. They're recalibrating their foreign policies and economic strategies to operate in this new multipolar order.
Right? They're basically becoming agile players. It reminds me of an orchestra. Each part must play its tune, but they all have to be in harmony for the symphony to work.
Exactly like that. And as we look at globalization in this light, it's more like an interconnected network that's a far cry from the unipolar or bipolar arrangements of old. There's a deliberate pivot to foster a more equitable
Yep, that's really the crux
distribution
of it.
of economic power.
Now, do you think the West's reaction, this freaking out, is more about fear of losing control or a genuine rethinking of old strategies?
I'd say it's a bit of both. The West has long enjoyed a position of relative predictability. When that predictable order faces a radical reconfiguration, there's inherent anxiety. I mean, it's like seeing your once familiar playbook suddenly become obsolete.
That makes sense. But isn't it also a wake up call? A signal that the global economic game has changed rules fundamentally?
Absolutely, it's a major wake up call. It forces Western policymakers to re examine their approaches and, well, perhaps embrace more cooperative strategies instead of clinging to outdated models.
Definitely. Now, one thing I want to challenge the assumption that a multipolar world is inherently more stable. What if the diffusion of power actually leads to a kind of competitive rivalry that destabilizes global markets?
That's a legitimate concern. I mean, a multipolar world offers a diffusion of conflict risk, but it also introduces complexity. If nations start jockeying for position without effective communication, you could indeed see increased volatility. But then again, it also opens up avenues for multilateral cooperation, which might, in the long run, balance out those risks.
Yeah, that's a compelling point. It all seems to boil down to whether our global institutions evolve in tandem with these shifts.
Exactly. If our governance structures aren't keeping pace, then the likelihood for systemic instability increases. Essentially, yes, the promise of Globalization 2.0 relies heavily on collaborative, adaptive frameworks that can manage these multipolar currents.
Absolutely. And with such rapid change, I guess there's no time to waste. Nations have to adapt quickly or risk being left behind.
Absolutely. It's a race, and the stakes couldn't be higher. The pace of change in economic policies and international collaborations is unprecedented.
Yeah, precisely. It's fascinating to see how a discussion that started with tariffs and real estate can unravel into this comprehensive rethinking of global order.
It really is. And it goes to show how interconnected every decision is, from domestic economic strategies to international trade policies.
That's for sure. Well, this conversation has definitely given me a lot to chew on. It's clear that the old ways are changing fast, and the West's reaction is as much about self-realization as it is about genuine concern.
Exactly. It's exciting and a bit nerve wracking, but it's a reminder that global economics is an ever evolving landscape, and staying agile is the name of the game.
Yep, totally. Thanks for this insightful chat. It really shed light on what's at stake in this multipolar transition.
My pleasure. It's been a roller coaster journey through these global shifts. Until next time, keep thinking about how the world is realigning beneath our feet.